Yeah, so I've been having this experience lately with, I'm in South Wales here, right in the valleys. It's absolutely beautiful, you know, rivers, forests, right on my doorstep. So I go out with the dog, and I've had a few of these experiences where I look at the river, the trees, the dog, the path I'm on. None of it makes, this is the experience I go into, yeah. None of it makes sense. And something within me gets frightened. Like all of a sudden, I don't know what the water is, the river is, the trees are, the grass, the path is like nothing makes sense. And my system goes into panic, like everything is going to dissolve. And I literally have to go down to my knees and touch the floor because it's like overwhelming. And it's like my ego gets confused. It's like, what the hell is this all about? And it's like, nothing makes sense. And it's like, all I can explain is like a big rush of fear, like panic. If you've got any experience for that.
Yeah, so this is associated with a lot of energy moving into the head, these expansive states of consciousness, where the logical mind, as well as the ego, sort of intertwine their logical mind and ego. They get completely turned off. And so you look around, you're like, I don't know what the water is. I don't know where am I, that sort of thing. It can also be associated with something called Zen sickness or emptiness sickness, depersonalization, derealization, being ungrounded, generally speaking. So I had some experiences like this where you look around and instead of seeing objects, you just see flickering particles. It's the
Yeah.
mind that sees all the flickering particles of the life of the universe and says, oh, this is a computer screen. Other than that, without the mind, it's just particles arising and passing away. It's not an actual river. Your mind says it's a river, and then your mind comes and says the river begins and ends here, and the path begins and ends here. So when that part goes away, there's just like all of this is just life arising and passing away. Can definitely be very frightening. Another example of somebody who experienced that, though many have, was Matt Kahn. He said he experienced this in the store. So he was buying clothes. Suddenly he has this type of experience, which is, could say it's a type of an awakening, actually. It's an expansion of consciousness, just unintegrated at this point. So he has this type of experience. And he said he looked down at his hands, which was holding a t-shirt, and he's like, why am I holding this cloth? Right. So rather than having his mind conceptualize it as a t-shirt, he just was like, why am I holding cloth? Right? Because that's what a t-shirt is. It's the mind that comes in and says, no, if it's cut a certain way, it has a tag, it has a collar, then we call it a t-shirt. So the logical mind gets turned off, and that's the ego as well. So you can also apply that logic to ourselves. Who says I'm a person, an ego, a me, a my? Where do I begin and end? That's only a concept that the mind made up about itself. Turn that off, and there's just oneness and just life arising and passing away. And so our work after experiences like that, though very frightening for sure, is exactly what you did. Put your hands on the ground, which is grounding. It's getting back in touch with the world, bringing that expansive energy that was up in the head, bringing it down into the body where it can be integrated. So we're not trying to lose that experience because there's great value and insight in that experience, but we're just trying to integrate it in a way that we can actually function in the world because we do have to walk, right? We do have to wear clothes, right? We have to know what day of the week it is. Sometimes on psychedelics, people have these experiences too, where they contemplate like, what the hell is Tuesday? Like, what is that? Just a word that we use to describe this thing called time. And what is time? It's like all of that's just made up, right? It's all just made up. Same idea. Sometimes I'll see this online. It's like time doesn't exist. Clocks exist. So without the
So
clock, there's no
do
such
you
thing as
think
time, right?
do you think I was expanding, having an experience, and my ego was freaking out?
Yeah, it sounds like it, and that's
When I
natural.
went to the
That's
floor,
natural.
I was shaking from head to toe and crying, going, I don't know anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and it's natural because it's leading up to you could say the dissolution of the ego. Not complete dissolution because we need it to talk to one another, but
Yeah.
there's this seeing that like, whoa, what I thought myself to be is not actually what I thought. Because if the river isn't actually the river, then what does that say about me? I'm probably not what I thought about I was either. It's like Matt Kahn. If this t-shirt is actually just cloth, who the hell is Matt? Who the hell is Brent? And that's very scary. to realize. Very scary. Yeah.
Yeah.
But integration and takes time. It takes time, but it is a profound realization for sure. This is what emptiness is. Emptiness of anything permanent or fixed. That's the realization of emptiness. And then the work is to integrate that into the world of form paradoxically. But it sounds like you're moving in that direction. Yeah.
Yeah. A bit quicker than I'd like, but it's moving.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, thank you, Scott. I appreciate that. Vicky's adding here, I had lots of that experience in the 70s after my initial awakening. Terrifying, and nobody to talk about it in the UK. I went into big agoraphobia when it kept happening, which I still have to a certain extent all these years later. Maybe this discussion about it will help me through it. Yeah, I hope so. I know that it is, I mean, it's almost impossible to talk about unless somebody understands it directly in their own experience. I don't know how somebody can make sense of this without really seeing it for themselves. Because put it this way, if you talk to somebody about something like, you know, I realized that my ego is not actually a fixed thing. How can somebody who hasn't had that realization for themselves understand what the hell you're saying? Even if they're a doctor, a PhD, psychologist, what, it doesn't matter. If they haven't experienced it for themselves, how can they relate? So it's difficult to find people to understand and talk about it with, but I'm happy that we can talk about it together and make sense of it, and, you know, of course, work to integrate it. Sinead's adding here, it's a stage that passes. Relax, ground, and do things to make you feel safe in your body. Amen. That's perfect. Perfect insight there. The body has so much wisdom because the body doesn't care about our philosophy, right? The body doesn't care about no self and how it's all consciousness and particles. The body's like, I'm here. I need to eat. I need to stay upright. I need to go to the bathroom. Don't come to me with all this philosophical stuff. So the body keeps us on the ground. So this is what I discovered for myself. The body is where it's at. And the body is often neglected, especially within you know, the Western approach to development. So interesting conversation there.